What about the main roster when you went there? What was the vibe like? What were people? How were people treating you? And did Al or anybody give you any advice, like the do's and the don'ts of the locker room?
Yeah, I mean they did, but that's you can tell somebody all day long, but that's just one of the things you gotta like you gotta just live it. You gotta just get through it. I had people, I had ribs. The ribs I had played on me were I mean funny to me, like lighthearted. Like one of the ribs was I walked in with a duffel bag, and they took chained my bag to the ceiling to a point to where the only way I could get it off the ceiling, I had to cut the straps. So then I'm walking around for a weekend holding a duffel bag. I'm going through the airport like that. And I just remember, I forget who it was, but somebody was like, get a rolling bag. That, that's the kind of stuff you got to, but that was lighthearted. That was fun. I know, I mean, I knew a lot of the guys, were looking down on me. Test, God rest his soul, who became later in life, later in my career, would become one of my best friends. He fully admitted, I hated you when you came in. He's like, I hated you. I was like, yeah, but would you have taken the opportunity I had? He's like, hell yeah. Of course he would. Um, you know, I, I knew that if Devon, he comes off of doing a great, tag match and comes through Gorilla down the curtain, and I just look over at him. I'm like, great match, Devon. And he rolled his eyes at me and like walked away. We still laugh about it because now Devon's one of my best friends on earth. I literally love him like a brother. And it just I had to prove to them that, I could do what I do. I could do work. I could do business. I could keep my mouth shut, do what I was told, and I didn't expect anything. So I hope that how grateful I was just to be there came across. And I would say for the most part, I mean, people always ask me, if I got heat with anybody. I mean, I don't know. People might hate me, but I didn't really hate anybody. Like I got along with pretty damn much everybody.
Speaking of the locker room hating you, next you're working with the Undertaker. I guarantee you the boys were not happy about that. That must have been for you
Lucky.
a dream come true. What was it like working with the Undertaker?
Well, I wanted to give him a push. I knew he needed a little bit of a
You gave him the rub.
yeah. I wanted to do the job for him. Dude, it was another just I couldn't believe like what the hell is happening here. And you know what? I believe if it would have been anybody but Taker, I would have gotten more heat. But Taker he's the kind of guy. I think he's so unapproachable to like you can't question his.
Untouchable.
He's untouchable, and you can't. He's unimpeachable. Like who's going to go up to Taker and say you really want to put that kid over? Nobody. And there's no way in hell that I'm kicking him out of the Rumble if he's not okay with it. So I think it was the fact that it was Taker. God bless America. I remember when poor Goldberg came in 2003 ish or whatever. I mean, guys hated him. Because A, they knew how much money he was making. B, he was thrown directly to the main show. I mean, to main events, and C couldn't work. So yeah, but he had the name. He was Goldberg. You know, I couldn't work. But I didn't come in making the money he was making, and they knew that if Taker's putting them over, maybe there's a reason behind. So I think that's the only reason. The fact that it was him is the only reason it worked. If they would have came out and been like, "You're kicking Shawn Michaels out of the Rumble," Shawn probably would have been like, "He is."
What was the conversation like? Like, I want to hear who came up to you and said, "This is what you're doing tonight with the
Uh,
Undertaker."
so I was in like I got wind that I was going to be in the Rumble. Les told me. Les told me in Cincinnati during training one day. And he was like, I think they might fly you down for the Rumble. Be ready. I was like, okay. And then like 2 days passed, I didn't hear anything from it. So I was like, oh, maybe they just wasn't a good idea. I mean, keep in mind, my Rumble experience was, I want to say, my fifth time on television. I wrestled Tasma 3 times. I wrestled Booker in December, and then I was in HWA until the Rumble. And then that's so they called me the day before and was like, get on a plane. I had to leave HWA, I had to leave training. I had to go to the airport and fly to Atlanta, where the day of the Rumble, and I get there. So I get there to get to the building, and they're like, bypass catering. They're like, just everyone's at the ring already, just because on TV days. I don't know how it is now, but when I was there on TV days, you got there at 1 o'clock, and you go catering, say your highs, then you go to the ring after catering, get find out what you're doing for that night, and start putting matches together. Well, when I got there, it was already like 3:30, and so everybody's already at the ring, and I go down there, like, find Shane, and luckily Shane's with Taker at the ring, so I go down and I'm, hello guys, I was told to find you, and Shane's just as nonchalant as he could be. He's like, oh yeah, we got this spot where you're going to be kicking Taker out of the Rumble tonight. And Taker just, and I didn't know if he was ribbing me, but Taker looks down at me. He goes, he's going to be what? And I was like, oh, 30 seconds passes and he winks at me. And then they tell me what the plan was. And yeah, another thing that I had never gotten color up until that point, but the match called for me to get color. And I didn't want to F it up. So Taker gigged me. And that's the biggest no-no. You don't let anybody blade you.
Right.
But not a lot of people are doing their fifth match ever on the Royal Rumble, probably one of the biggest spots ever in the Royal Rumble. So, but I also knew that he'd take care of me, and he did. And he did. I don't have a scar from where he bladed me, but the first time I had to do it myself, I still carry the scar right here because I went the wrong way. I went down instead of cross.
You worked with the Undertaker and you beat him for the hardcore title.
Oh yeah, like
Oh,
things started changing and started changing
wow.
quick. After the Rumble, I think it was on I just don't think they realized that I never got thrown out over the top rope. I never got eliminated. So then that's how we go around full circle when I'm wrestling Jericho for the title. That's how I'm wrestling Jericho in Richmond Coliseum for the title, because everybody just starts. Maven was never eliminated from the Rumble. I still get messages that you're still in the Rumble, to this day. And so I think that to squash those and to shut everyone up, they gave me that match. But then Taker comes out, me and Taker have our spot, which was so cool. It was all so cool. Like, it was just like, at this time, I don't think I'd fully transitioned from fan to actual worker, and that didn't happen until I started working a full-time schedule. And I remember Austin telling us during Tough Enough, he said, they don't pay me to wrestle, they pay me to travel. And I remember when that became true to me too, because that becomes the worst part about the job. And but yeah, things started taking off. I did that thing with Jericho. I did a program with Taker where Taker and The Rock. God, like, had to give him a rub too. Glad. I love telling.
He's,
I love when
he's doing
I love
well.
telling. Yeah, I love telling people. I'm glad he could take something I learned and transition into his next stage of his career. But I get to win the hardcore title off Taker, and just, it was a whirlwind. It really was.